So far. Our Father, we give you glory and praise, and we thank you for the Feast of Tabernacles. Thank you for all that you do for us. Purge out any iniquity and sin inside of us. Remove it, because we want to make it to the New Jerusalem. Amen.
Today's scripture will be read from Psalm chapter 15. Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy place? Shalakia. Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness, and speaketh the truth in his heart. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor, and whose eyes a vile person is contemned. But he honoreth them that fear the Lord. He that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. He that putteth out his money to the usury, nor taketh reward against the evil. He that doeth these things shall never be moved. That was Psalms chapter 15 in its entirety. We have that the Most High add a blessing to the reading and hearing of His word. We now have our credo, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Shema Yasharallah Ahaya. Ahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. Hero Israel. The Lord our power is one power. Shema Yasharallah Ahaya. Ahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. Hero Israel. The Lord our power is one power. Shema Yasharallah Ahaya. Ahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. Hero Israel. The Lord our power is one power.
All right, we're going to get right to our lesson. Feast of Tabernacles. Okay. The 8th day feast is September 29th. That's our next holy day. We will have a holy convocation. Yes, that is a Sunday. We will have a holy convocation, and our service will start at 1 p.m. Upcoming is dedication. Dedication is a celebratory feast that starts December 7th through the 14th, and the winter holy day is also December 7th. Download the Cash app to your phone. Thank you for the donations. Israelite class will resume sometime in mid-October. Bible study will be at 9 p.m. on Wednesday. I want to say peace to the 12 tribes that are scattered throughout the 4 corners of the earth, and shalom to those who are of the, not of the blood lineage, but because they follow the law, statutes, and commandments. They have the surname of Israel. Feast of Tabernacles. The plan of the Most High. Feast of Tabernacles. We're going to see some things today. Why is it said that we are not going to know when Yeshua come back? Where did that doctrine come from? When the Bible specifically tells us when he's going to come back. All kinds of debate. We're not going to know. We are going to know. Well, I pray this lesson is remembered, and I pray the scriptures that we show that he is going to come back. When he's going to come back, he does not make it a secret. The scriptures that when he talks about a thief in the night, those are for those who want to continue to sin. Those who want to continue to live in their iniquity. That's a thief in the night. The parable of the 10 virgins. The 5 virgins did not have oil, i.e. the Bible did not follow the word. So when Yeshua came, they were caught. He even tells us when he's going to come back. We're going to see Feast of Tabernacles. Where did it originate? And why we have to keep this feast today. I'm going to start off in 2 Maccabees 10. Okay. Why we have to keep this feast today? Why is it important to keep this feast? We have the chat open. If you have questions or comments, you can place your questions and comments on the chat. 2 Maccabees 10 and 6.
2 Maccabees chapter 10, verse 6. And they kept 8 days with gladness, as in the Feast of Tabernacles, remembering that not long afore they had held the Feast of the Tabernacles, when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts.
Right, so they held the Feast of Tabernacles 8 days. That 8 days including the 8-day feast, right? First answer was 5 and 51. So the Feast of Tabernacles, when the Bible talks about a feast for 8 days, that's including the 8th-day feast. And when you understand the 8th-day feast, then you'll understand why the Bible says 8 days. Sometimes it says 7 days when it refers to tabernacles. First Ezra 5 and 51.
First Ezra chapter 5, verse 51. Also, they held the Feast of Tabernacles, as it is commanded in the law, and offered sacrifices daily as was meet.
So they kept the Feast of Tabernacles. Even after the exiles, when they came back, they kept the Feast of Tabernacles. And we'll show you that in Nehemiah 8. Let's go to 2 Ezra 2 and 11.
Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 11. Their glory also will I take unto me, and give thee the everlasting tabernacles, which I had prepared for them.
Everlasting tabernacles. So we're going to see something later on when we talk about the tabernacles. We're going to see when we get to 1 Corinthians 15. You have a choice to make. Jubilees, the 16th chapter says, they both rejoice with exceedingly great joy. And Hawa built there an altar to the Lord who had delivered him and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourn. And Hawa celebrated a festival of joy in this month, Shabbat days, near the altar which Hawa had built at the well of the oath. And Hawa built booths for himself. We're going to find out why these booths are important for then, but even more important now. And for his servants on this festival. And Hawa was the first to celebrate. It's talking about Abraham. Abraham was the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles on earth, during these Shabbat days, Hawa brought each day to the altar a burnt offering to the Lord. Shanayim, oxen, Shanayim, rams, Shabbat, sheep, Akkad, he-goat for a sin offering, that Hawa might atone thereby for himself and for his seed. So Abraham, when he was doing the sacrifices, was doing the sacrifices to atone for sin. Isn't that interesting? He was doing that to atone for sin. Very interesting. And Hawa might atone thereby for himself and for his seed. And as a thank offering, Shabbat rams, Shabbat kids, Shabbat sheep, and Shabbat he-goats, and their fruit offerings, and their drink offerings. And Hawa burnt all the fat thereof on the altar, and chose an offering unto the Lord for a sweet smelling savor. So Abraham had the Feast of Tabernacles. Jubilees, the 16th chapter. And we're going to read 28 to 31. And Hawat blessed and rejoiced. And Hawat called the name of this feast, this festival, the festival of the Lord, a joy acceptable to the Most High. And he blessed him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because Hawat celebrated this festival in its season, according to the testimony of the heavenly tablets. This was before the laws were written. For this reason, it is ordained on the heavenly tablets concerning Israel that they should celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, Shabbat days, with joy in the 7th month, acceptable before the Lord, a statute forever. 7 days, right? Throughout their generations every year. And to this, there is no limit of days. That means you are to do it forever. For it is ordained forever regarding Israel that they should celebrate it and dwell in booths and set wreaths upon their heads and take leafy boughs and willows from the brook. And Abraham took branches of palm trees and the fruit of goodly trees, and every day going round about the altar with the branches Shabbat times a day in the morning, Hawat praised and gave thanks to his power for all things in joy. So if Abraham did it, I think we should do it.
What do you mean by that?
If Abraham did it, we should do it. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
I thought we didn't have to do that.
No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about the Feast of Tabernacle. I'm not talking about the booths. But we'll explain the significance of the booths, right? But no, I'm not talking about we should dwell in booths. But yes, we should do the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, the Feast of Tabernacles is a feast that's required by the Most High, and it's required by Israel because they celebrate the wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. The first day of the Shabbat and the last day of the Shabbat. The Most High required Israel to dwell in booths made of boughs of trees to commemorate the dwelling in booths in the wilderness. That's one part. We're going to go back to 2 Maccabees and we're going to read chapter 2. The first and the 8th day are to be holy convocations. 2 Maccabees 2, 5 and 8.
Second Maccabees chapter 2, verse 5. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle, and the ark, and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Verse 7, which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, As for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High gather his people together again, and receive them unto mercy.
So when Yeshua gathers us together again, got to keep the holy days.
So it's a lie when people, some guy that's he's a Hamite, saying he has the Ark of the Covenant.
No.
He's lying. He said he never showed it. He just said he has it and he's protecting it.
Oh, okay. Verse 8.
Then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also, as it was showed under Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place mighty be honorably sanctified.
How did Yeshua fulfill this particular holy day. All right, we're going to go to Hosea 6. Oh, yes, Hosea 6, and we're going to read verses 1 through 3.
Hosea chapter 6, verse 1. Come, and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
So after 2 days, he will revise us. And the third day, he will raise us up. How is he going to do it? When is he going to do it? How? When? How? When? And even a more important question, who? Who? Verse 3.
Then shall we know, if we follow on to know the Lord, his going forth is prepared as the morning, and he shall come unto us as the rain, as the latter and former rain unto the earth.
Then we shall know. We're going to find out who's been really serving the Father, who's been really serving Yeshua. We're going to find out very, very soon. And at that point, there's not going to be any, I'm so sorry. I repent. It's not going to happen. You're going to miss out on the wilderness, and you're going to have, you know that you're going to have to die in 3.5 years.
You're going to make it.
You know what your fate is at that point. Some of us have such a reprobate mind that we'd rather go through that evil. We'd rather go through that wickedness than to do what is right. We want to go through it. Well, you know what? Yeshua is saying by all means. Because what else can he have done to his vineyard? What else could he have done to his vineyard? Israel is such a stubborn and stiff-necked people. What else can he do? He saved people out of the muck and mire, and people want to go back to the muck and the mire. Oh, ye wicked generation. Let's go Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and we're going to read verses 1 through 4. And then we're going to read 33 to 36. We're going to be in and out of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. We're also going to be in and out of Leviticus, the 25th chapter. Throw a little Matthew 24 in there.
All right.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
Moses, Yeshua said to Moses, speak unto the children of Israel. These are my feasts. These are his feasts. These are not ordained by man. like your December 25th, like your Thanksgiving, like your pagan Easter. These are not ordained by man. These feasts are ordained by Yeshua. And that's why we have to follow them, how and exactly he says to follow them. Verse 3.
6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest and holy convocation.
We're going to get a little spin on that. And we're going to see something with the year of Jubilee. Continue.
You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
4.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
You must do them in their seasons. And we're going to show you with the Bible why you have to do them in their seasons. And don't let nobody try to throw you off, because there's people out there who think they're smarter than Yeshua. And they'll tell you, well, no, you really don't. Tabernacles and the trumpets, they really are in October. Or they'll tell you, no, the Passover really is in April. You don't let anybody tell you off of what the Bible says. You have people who really think this, and they think it through, and then they'll use scriptures to show you. Let's see about the feast. Everything that he does has to be in order. Everything he does, it has to be in order. And if you're dealing with something that's not in order, i.e. rebellion, you're not going to follow this. There's some type of way you have to get out of doing what he has commanded. But the Most High, Yeshua, they do everything in order. And they're not going to change what they do. And they tell us what they're going to do in the Bible. You got to open up this book and you have to read it. Leviticus 23, we're going to start at 33.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto the Lord.
7 days unto the Lord, 35.
On the first day shall be an holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
You shall do no servile work. That's work according to getting paid. The Bible tells us what you are able to do. You're not to do any servile work. But in the normal Shabbat, you are not to do any work. 36.
7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein.
So there it is, where it's a solemn assembly. So you don't use these groups that have these that are doing the tabernacles, and they're having praise and worship and dancing and songs and all that. They are doing what is against the Bible. They are doing what is against the Bible. It says again, a second time, you shall do no servile work therein. Not only that, but everybody was to keep the feast. Not just Israel, but everyone was supposed to keep it. Let's go to Deuteronomy 16. Deuteronomy 16, we're going to start at verse 13.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 13. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that thou hast gathered in thy wine and thy corn.
Now, in Revelation, it talks about the wine, not touching the wine and corn until it's time. Who do you think the wine and the corn is? He is going to gather us. So let's say you're not doing what you're supposed to do on Tabernacles. You're going to miss. This is not talking about gathering wine and corn. It's talking about gathering his people. It's talking about gathering his people. Read the next verse.
And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gate.
Everyone. 15.
7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy power, and the place which the Lord shall choose. Because the Lord thy power shall bless thee in all thine increase, and in all thy work of all the work of thine hands. Therefore, thou shalt surely rejoice.
7 days you are to keep a solemn feast. 7 days you are to keep a solemn feast. Yes.
So how we don't have like the music for the 7 days, but still not having the music and everything?
It's a solemn feast.
Okay.
So what are you praising and worshiping for?
We're not supposed to play music during 7 days.
No, you're not. That's not what the scripture says.
That's what she was asking.
You don't play the music on the 1st, on the 7th.
Oh.
Back then, they kept it 7 days. But there's a reason why they kept it 7 days. We don't have to keep it 7 days now because Yeshua died on the cross for us. But there's a reason why they had to keep it 7 days. And we're going to show that. Verse 16.
3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy power,
Mm-hmm.
in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread,
11.
and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles.
Mm-hmm.
And they shall not appear empty. They shall not appear before the Lord empty.
What is the Feast of Weeks? What's another name for the Feast of Weeks? First fruits. Okay? This is why we don't feast on days where we are not to feast on. Normal Shabbats. The offerings that they're talking about in Deuteronomy in the 16th verse, where it says you're not supposed to come before the hand empty, those are your prayers. Those are your prayers, your works, and your behavior. And I'm going to show you why it's your works and your prayers and your behaviors according to the Bible. That was your offering. And if you made that offering bad, you were cut off. Or you will be cut off. One of the two. You present bad works, horrific prayers, and a nasty behavior. Let's go to Genesis 4. Genesis, the 4th chapter. The Bible gives us a clue on what Yeshua feels like, or what Yeshua, how Yeshua is going to react if you have bad behavior, bad works, and you try to present an offering to him. Genesis 4, we're going to start at verse 1.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived, and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground.
Verse 3.
And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord.
He brought a fruit offering unto the Lord. But when bringing in a sin offering, what do you need? Blood. 4.
And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering.
So he had respect unto Abel, right? Verse 5.
But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
So because of the bad, imagine this, you have a bad attitude. And because of your bad attitude, you pray to the Father for whatever it is, or Yeshua for whatever it is, and he don't answer it. You become angry, but look at yourself. Take a look at yourself. You have a negative, nasty attitude about yourself, but then you expect for the Most High to jump through hoops to help you. Cain had a negative and nasty attitude. The fruit that he brought, it was decrepit. It was his behavior. Rotten behavior. Abel, wonderful behavior. Cain, bad behavior. And then Yeshua asked him something. Verse 6.
And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
Why? And this is the same thing when we ask, why are you so angry? Why are you so upset? Why this? Why? 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 It all falls on the person, regardless on how a person tries to spin it, put it off on others like Cain did. It's still you. Yeshua is asking, why are you so wroth? Why is your countenance fall? Verse 7, and he answers his question. Verse 7.
If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted?
Stop right there. If thou doest well, shalt thou be accepted? If your behavior is right, won't he listen to your prayers? But because your behavior is nasty, perverted, wicked, evil, he's not going to listen to you. If thou doest well, shalt thou be accepted. And then what does he say about when you're not accepted?
And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
So, Yeshua is saying, good behavior, accepted. Bad behavior, sin lieth at the door. And whatever it is that you're operating in, good behavior, that rules over you. Bad behavior, that rules over you. There is no in between. Let's go Malachi 1.
Well, I was getting that. Someone said, is there any validity to the serpent seed doctrine where Cain was the son of the serpent from the garden?
Incorrect.
Where did people come up with that?
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with it from, but I'm not saying it. Incorrect. The serpent seed has nothing to do with Eve mating with Satan. That's nothing to do with that. And I know where that came from. Right? Nothing to do with that. Abel was Cain's father. And people read in the book of Jasher and they get it kind of mixed up. Adam was, yeah. The people read in the book of Jasher and they get it mixed up. The serpent seed has nothing to do with the birth of Cain. Now, there is validity to the serpent seed. There is validity to the serpent seed, but it has nothing to do with Adam and Eve and Cain.
Jan says, Shalom, Elder.
Shalom.
How do we know it was a sin offering?
It was, we don't know, well, it was an offering. Okay, it was made with blood. So it could have been, it wasn't burnt. So that's the only reason why I would think that it was a sin offering, because that offering was not burnt.
And if we go to Leviticus
And
and look at the different offerings, it will show what type of offering it was.
So when you bring forth animals, it wasn't burnt. The Most High just had respect towards it. But there was blood. If there's blood, because that's the only thing that he has respect for because of blood, that will lead me to believe it's possibly a sin offering. It's not a peace offering because there's no blood in a peace offering. It wasn't a burnt offering. Huh? Malachi 1, and we're going to start at verse 6.
Malachi chapter 1, verse 6. A son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear? Saith the Lord of hosts unto you, O priests that despise my name. And ye say, wherein have we despised thy name?
All right, so if you know anything about Malachi, Christians use Malachi 3 as saying that you're robbing God, that you're robbing him with the tithes and the offering. But Malachi 3 has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with the Levitical priesthood that was doing wrong to the offerings of the Most High. In this particular verse, he's saying, he is the Father. Where is his fear? Where are the people who respect him? And why do people despise his name? Where are they who respect him? Where are they who show honor to him?
Pollute mine altar. And ye say, wherein have we polluted thee? And that ye say, the table of the Lord is contemptible.
Right, so he said, you offer polluted bread on my altar. They were taking the bad animals and sacrifice. The best of the animals, which is what they were supposed to sacrifice. And we're going to show that in the next verse. It tells us. Read verse 8.
And if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it now unto thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee, or accept thy person, saith the Lord of hosts?
So they were offering blind animals for sacrifice. Is it not evil? The lame and the sick, is it not evil? What about you today? What about you living in sin and you operating in sin and you're praying to the Father? What type of sacrifice do you think that is?
We said last night, sacrifice was our what? Repentance and prayer.
Correct. So what type of prayers are you sending up to the Father? You're doing the exact same thing that he discussed. that he hates, that he abhors. Your behavior is sinful, and yet you're sending up prayers to the Father. They were doing the exact same thing. Verse 9.
And now I pray you, beseech the Most High, that he will be gracious unto you. This hath been by your means. Will he regard your person, saith the Lord of hosts?
Verse 10.
Who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do ye kindle fire on my altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, saith the Lord of hosts. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand.
So, once again, I have no pleasure in you. Neither will I accept an offering or hear your prayers. So this is why you constantly are praying to the Father for things to be done in your favor, and it's not happening. It's not happening. It all starts with you as the individual, not with other people. 11.
For from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering. For my name shall be great among the heathen, saith the Lord of hosts.
He's going to get someone to give him a pure offering, a prayer that's not profane. Verse 12.
But ye have profaned it, and that ye say, the table of the Lord is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat, is contemptible. Ye said also, behold, what a weariness it is, and ye have snuffed at it, saith the Lord of hosts. And ye brought that which was torn, and the lame, and the sick. Thus ye brought an offering. Should I accept this of your hand, saith the Lord?
All right. Verse 12 and 13 is saying a whole lot. Profaning, your prayers are profane. He said, ye said also, behold, what a weariness is it. Tired of serving? Getting tired of going to the Shabbat every single Shabbat? Getting tired of trying to live right? Getting tired of it? You can tell you're getting tired. Your prayers are horrific to him. Torn in the lame, right? And the sick. Those are your prayers. Getting tired? Sometimes it happens, right? You get tired of serving. Some people are so out of it, they want to go back to what they used to do. And you know what? People in this ministry, and I'm not saying it for no secret, there's been a few people who got tired. Behold, this is weary. This is wearing me out. And they went back to their old lives.
I think the Most High never felt that way.
They went back to their old lives. And that they're going to regret. Because verse 14 calls them out. Read verse 14.
But cursed be the deceiver, which hath in his flock a male, and voweth, and sanctifieth. Shalaki Baba sacrificeth unto the Lord a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith the Lord of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen.
You are cursed. You are cursed. How can you get tired from living right? How can you get tired from doing what's right? Knowing the prize at the end of it.
Wow.
The Bible says in the book of Revelation, overcome and endure.
I just had that same conversation with somebody this morning.
No, overcome and endure.
Confirmation. But you know what else the priest was doing?
Mm-hmm.
When they would get the meat or the sacrifice, they were supposed to cook it. Everybody know when you cook meat, it cooks down and gets smaller. So they were supposed to cook it and then take their 10%. But what they were doing is they was taking their 10% of the offering before they sacrificed it, before they cooked it.
Yeah.
That way they could get more of it and get more of the fat of it. They was taking the best.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a big piece of meat. When you cook it, it's going to cook down. So your 10% is going to be smaller.
Right.
So when it was big before they cooked it, they got their 10%, and their 10% was the best. And then they offered the scraps to Most High.
Correct.
These was the Levite priests.
Mm-hmm. Let's go Ecclesiastes 2.
You know, they was taught, they say, how can you be a preacher? It was a video of this guy who was a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
and he spent $32,000 at one time on his wardrobe. And he was asked, how are you wearing all these expensive clothes and you're going out preaching to poor people, people that don't have food, don't have clothes, their lights are being turned off, you homeless people, but you're standing up there with a $3,000 or $4,000 suit on.
Mm-hmm.
How could you do that? How could you do that and sleep at night?
Satan's his father.
And then these people that don't have any, taking their last and they putting it in the offering bucket because the preacher has lied to them and told them they need to tithe in order to receive a blessing.
They are woefully ignorant. Woefully
We
ignorant.
did it. When we got our income tax, we had gave the church 10%,
Mm-hmm.
which was a lot of money. And then I remember that we didn't have food to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And the pastor had talked about this big old meal they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you know, why you all didn't invite us? They knew we didn't have no food. What did he tell me? Well, we would have gave you money to buy you something. The pastor didn't even think enough of us to invite us to his house to eat at his table.
Right.
Go figure that one.
Ecclesiastes 2. Let's read. Starting at 10.
Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 10. And whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun.
All was vanity and vexation of spirit. Okay, we're going to talk about this piece again. We're going to talk about it, and it has another name to it. So let's go to Exodus, the 23rd chapter. And let's see the other name that this feast has. Exodus 23, we're going to read verses 1 through 4.
Exodus chapter 23, verse 1. Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment.
You shall not raise a false report, lies. You shall not put the wicked to the unrighteous. You shall not follow the multitude to do evil, follow the world to do evil. Verse 3.
Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause.
4.
If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again.
You see someone going off, it's not talking about a donkey or an ox. It's talking about individuals. You see them going off, bring them back. Let's continue on. Skip down to verse 14. We're going to read 14 to 17.
Exodus chapter 23, verse 14. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year.
Right? We read these 3 feasts in Leviticus 23rd chapter. 15.
Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I command thee in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty.
All right, unleavened bread, 16.
And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors of the field, out of the field.
Right? So the feast of ingathering, when thou hast gathered in the labors out of the field. The feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year. Well, wait a minute. Because if you don't know it already, Feast of Ingathering is the same thing as Feast of Tabernacles. But wait, it says, which is in the end of the year. Interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We need to find out what that end of the year is, because it's surely not the end of the calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it telling us something else? We got to investigate this. Verse 17.
3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord power.
Right. The Most High gave 7 days. He gave man 7 days. And it is at the end, man will cease from being flesh and blood. When is that going to happen? The Feast of Harvest is the Feast of First Fruits. Feast of Tabernacles is also in gathering. This means to gather his own house. Everything has a meaning to it. Let's go to Leviticus 25. Everything has a meaning to it. And very shortly, we're going to show through scripture on what day and when Yeshua is going to come back. Remember, all the scriptures that say you don't know the hour of the day when he's going to come back. Is he talking to Israel or is he talking to someone else? Because Israel should know. It's in the book. Christianity will have you to believe. But why is that? Because Christianity is Satan's religion. That's why. So when the scriptures are being talked about in Revelation, that no man knows the hour of the day when he cometh, is he talking to Israel or is he talking to someone else?
Well, why does it say the Father don't even know?
Is he talking to Israel? It doesn't say the Father doesn't know.
Oh, only the Father
It
knows.
says only the Father knows, right? But he's not going to, you know what? We're going to get the scriptures. Because people have this delusion that we don't know when he's going to come back. When he tells us when he's going to come back at the last trump, let's see. We're going to go and let's talk about Jubilee. Leviticus 25, we're going to start at verse 1.
Leviticus chapter 25, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord.
Keep a Sabbath unto the Lord, verse 3.
6 years thou shalt sow thy field.
How many?
6 years.
6 years. Keep going.
And 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard.
Yes.
And gather in the fruit thereof.
Now let's keep going. Verse 4.
But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard.
The 7th year shall be a Sabbath, right? Now let's understand something. It's still on the 7th day. It just changed the day to year. It's still the same thing. 5.
That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of thy vineyard of thy vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land.
6.
And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee, and for thy servant, and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for thy stranger that sojourneth with thee.
7 times 7 plus 1 is 50. And we're going to get that. Skip down to verse 8. 7 times 7 plus 1 is 50. That's the year of Pentecost. When is Yeshua coming? This is when Yeshua is coming. He tells us in Scripture when he's coming. The year of Jubilee. The Scripture said previous, at the end of the year.
Can we go back to those scriptures?
To the end of the year?
No, the ones you just read. Where do you start off at?
You start off at verse 1.
Okay. Read that again. I want to show you something.
Okay.
Read it again.
Verse 1.
Speak to the children of Israel. No, go to 3.
Leviticus chapter 25, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard.
Okay. So in those 6 years, what are we doing? Because we know a year is a day to the Most High is what? 1,000. So let's look at it like this. So man has 7,000 years to get it right, right? So the time we had left, people had time to get it right, to to do whatever they was going to do within the 6,000 years.
Right.
You see where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go to number 4.
But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land.
Okay, when Yeshua come back, he's going to reign for what?
1,000 years.
Will we be trying to get people to come to him and to do this? What will we be doing with Yeshua when he's reigning?
Resting.
Y'all see it? The 6 years you labor, you work, you try to bring people in. It said you get pruned, you get healed, you get delivered, you get right. You have 6,000 years to do all this.
Mm-hmm.
That 7,000 year, what do? You reigning with Yeshua, you resting, you're not doing the work. Think about it. There's no pruning, there's no sowing in the field. Okay, keep going.
Verse 5.
Verse 5 or continuing 4?
5, go to 5.
Okay. That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap.
So out of those 6 years, people that's not doing what they supposed to do, what's going to happen? They're not going to go there. What's going to happen to them?
You're not going to be there.
Exactly. Okay, keep going.
Neither gather the grapes of thy vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land. Keep going.
Yeah.
And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee and for thy servant, and for thy maid and for thy hired maid, and for thy stranger that sojourneth with thee.
So everybody that did what they were supposed to do, that's reigning with Yeshua, that has been transformed, this is what you're going to get. Everybody.
Eventually we'll get there.
I'm sorry.
Oh, keep going.
The Holy Spirit, Mother was just showing me
what. Mother's going to show you some more, right?
But that's what it is. We had all this time. We had 6,000 years to get it right. Man had it. Shepherd always said, man has 6,000 years. We had a chance to get it right. Yeshua was pruning us, trying to get us to grow, delivering us, healing us, giving us wisdom. Some people just won't accept it. They will not accept it. So therefore, you won't be gathered.
Okay. Let's skip down to verse 8. And we're going to read verses 8 through 10.
Leviticus chapter 25, verse 8.
I would highly suggest that you highlight Leviticus chapter 25, verse 9. Highly suggest that you highlight that one. Read.
And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years.
49 years, that's 50 Jubilee. Read verse 9.
Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. And the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land.
That's when Yeshua is coming back. The day of atonement at the end of the 50th Jubilee. See how simple that was? But I'm not going to stop just there, right? Because we got to investigate this. What trumpet is going to sound?
But when we taught on the 70 year of Daniel and all that,
yes,
we said, this is what we said.
Same thing.
But people laugh. You have Israelites who saying they're not Israelites anymore. I don't know how you can do that. But they saying that, oh, this is not real. It's not true. But they was once preaching this.
This is why on the Day of Atonement, you better be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yes?
So are we like in the 47th Jubilee?
Maybe 46. No, we're not in the 47 Jubilee.
No, we're not in 47. We're in the 50th Jubilee.
We're in the last Jubilee.
We're in the last.
But I know what she's saying, like the year. Because people laugh at us and think we're crazy when we say, we're not in no 2000 anything.
Right.
We're saying the world is because they have messed with the times, that we're like in 1747, 48.
1747.
Yeah, we're almost at the end of the last Jubilee. And that's what I meant to say. I didn't say the whole thought I was having. Mm-hmm. But you have elders and shepherds that are Israelites was teaching this, and then the devil beguiled them, and they retracted and said, oh, no, we're in 2000. They was teaching false doctrine. I was following this ministry and this ministry. But the Lord, the Holy Spirit, showed me the truth. Oh, did she? Really?
We're not going to waver. The book says what it means. We don't have to twist what the book is saying.
No, we don't.
But we need to find out this trumpet. And did Yeshua talk about this trumpet? Yeah, I think he did. Read verse 10. Let me say something else too. For those of you who think that you got 3 years to get your life right, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because there's also a scripture says that Yeshua is speeding up times for the very elect. So some people can make it. Now, I'm not saying that he's just going to speed it up. Not saying that today we're going to be at September, whatever today is, and then tomorrow we're going to be at October 3rd. That's not what the scripture is saying. What he's saying is that the progression of the world is going to have to speed up. You don't have, well, I'm going to wait until the Trump starts, then I'm going to start getting right. No. Read the parable of the 10 virgins and take your time reading the parable of the 10 virgins.
But you have to know this, Yeshua is going to come back at the end of the 50th Jubilee. But before he come back, there still has to be 3 years in the wilderness. So even if we're in 17 what? What would you say 17 what?
1747? Something like that?
46, 47. That's still, you still have to make it to that wilderness. Because he's not going to come back until, how many years in the wilderness?
3.
3 years in the wilderness. So we're in 1746. Soon the wilderness is going to happen. And you have to have them 3 years in the wilderness and then he's going to come back. So, like Shepherd said, you don't have time. You don't have 3 years. You don't think the time you think you have, you don't. You got to get delivered. You got to get it right now. Your life literally depends on it. You got to get it right now.
Verse 10.
And you shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and you shall return every man unto his possession, and you shall return every man unto his family.
Once you blow the jubilee, he is coming. The book is letting you know when Yeshua is coming. The book is letting you know this.
Can we go back to that scripture?
Sure.
Where it says, return every man to his who?
Return every man unto his possession.
What does that mean?
Land.
And what else?
Return every man to his family, unto his family.
And who do we belong to?
Yeshua.
And who must we be returned to?
Yeshua.
There you go. It's right there.
Just got to read.
Right there.
Right? Just got to read.
He's going to take us back.
Let's get proof of this.
All right, bring it out.
Let's get proof of this. Right? We're going to see something in Isaiah. Let's go Matthew 24 first. Because at the blow, there's a trumpet. And the trumpet of the Jubilee is the sound on the Day of Atonement. Read Matthew 24. We're going to start at 27.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 27. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
29.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened.
Oh, right there. Immediately after the tribulation of those days. How long is the tribulation? How long is the tribulation? It's 3.5 years. That's how long the tribulation is. 3.5 years. Finish the verse.
And the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Then what's going to happen?
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Now, we all know this is Yeshua's first resurrection, but now we know when it's going to happen. But this ain't nothing we have never taught before. Verse 31.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
He was sounded with a trumpet. Also gather, in gathering. Let's go Isaiah 27. Heavens and stars. When he comes, we're going to know it. Now, he even tells us where we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Tired? Isaiah 27, we're going to start at verse 12. The seventh trump, the Jubilee. Yeshua returns on the 50th year of the seventh month on the Day of Atonement. But let's get more. Isaiah 27, we're going to start at verse 12.
Isaiah chapter 27, verse 12. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt. And ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel.
You shall be gathered one by one, O children of Israel. When? 13.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown.
The great trumpet shall be blown. Read.
And they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcast in the land of Egypt. And shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
At Jerusalem. He lays it all out for us. All we have to do is follow it. Gather you one by one, O children of Israel. Now, let's understand something. This is the prophet Isaiah, correct? And because this is the prophet Isaiah, what was happening around his time when he was prophesying? What happened? What was going on with the children of Israel when Isaiah was prophesying?
Weren't they in captivity in Babylon?
They were not in captivity. They were not in captivity, no. This what?
When Assyria was destroying them?
They weren't really destroying them at this time. When Isaiah was a prophet, this was before the Assyrian captivity. Right before the Assyrian captivity. Now, Assyria was still a world power, but they did not attack Israel yet. Isaiah was prophesying, just like Jeremiah was prophesying about Babylon.
Yeah.
So Isaiah was prophesying. So that's why when you see the land of Assyria, an outcast in the land of Egypt, he's referring to what he's seeing. Just like when John the Revelator was in the heavenlies and he saw locusts. He saw things that he could not understand. So he had to revert to what he knew.
So the planes that had the animals, he said that had the stingers on them.
Correct.
Was really the fighter jets.
Correct.
Okay.
So Isaiah is reverting to what he knows, and that's Assyria. But key thing is that he's going to gather us. Yeshua is going to gather us. Excuse me, not man.
So why are people going over to Israel, to Jerusalem now? And they telling people they need to go back and things are so great over there. And
no, things are not great over there. But we're going to prove this even more. And we're going to do it with the Bible, not with our own understanding. So he's going to gather us, and that's going to be at the great trump. And he's going to meet us at the Holy Mount. But we're going to get more precepts on this. He's going to gather us, not only in Egypt and in Assyria, but he's going to gather us everywhere. Nobody wants to read.
why do you think he said Assyria and Egypt?
Because that's what was going on at the time Isaiah was prophesying. Egypt was still a power. Assyria was an up and coming power. Isaiah prophesied before the Assyrian captivity and during the Assyrian captivity. So that's why he references a lot of things to Assyria. But also, he also mentioned Cyrus, didn't he? He talked about Cyrus. Cyrus wasn't Assyrian. Cyrus wasn't until hundreds of years after that.
Yeah.
Was Isaiah living at the time of the Persian captivity? No. We all know he was killed way before then. You got to sit down. The trumpets is to gather Israel. Hence, the feast of ingathering. Let's go back to Leviticus 25th chapter. And let's see something in Leviticus 25 about that 50th Jubilee. Leviticus 25, we're going to read verses 11 to 15.
Leviticus chapter 25, verse 11. A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. Ye shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed. For it is the jubilee. It shall be holy unto you. You shall eat the increase thereof out of the field.
Told you the same thing after the 7th year. 13. In the 7th year, we've already know that 7,000 years to get your life, get it right. He told you the same thing. He's just using now the 50th Jubilee when he's going to come back. You are not to be sowing or reaping and all that. That means you don't have to work. You shouldn't be working at it. You should be in the wilderness. You should be coming out of the wilderness. 13.
Trying to win souls and.
That point, no. 13.
In the year of this jubilee, ye shall return every man unto his possession.
Return unto his possession. 14.
And as thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buyest aught of thy neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another.
15.
According to the number of years after the jubilee, thou shalt buy of thy neighbor. And according to the number of years of the fruits, he shall sell unto thee.
According to your behavior. According to your behavior. Going to determine where you're going to go. It's written out right here for us. Let's go 1 Thessalonians 4. Liberty on the 50th year. Everybody is to return. He will know who's serving. He will know who is serving him then. But let's see about this even further. We're going to go 1 Thessalonians 4, and we're going to read 13 to 17.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Yeshua died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yeshua will the Most High bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High, and the dead in Yeshua shall rise first. Verse 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord.
Right, so that is going to happen at the last trump. This will all happen, the year of Jubilee. That trump is the Jubilee on Atonement, where we're going to meet him. But like I said, where do we go? Let's get more proof. Let's go to Zechariah, the 14th chapter. Zechariah 14. We're going to read verses 3 through 5. It's all right there for us. We just got to get ourselves right. Or get yourself wrong. It depends. It's up to you. It's up to you.
It is.
It's not up to anyone else. Let's read.
Zechariah chapter 14, verse 3. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle.
Mm-hmm.
And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives.
His feet is going to stand on Mount Olives. Where is that? Keep reading.
Which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
Didn't we read in Isaiah 27 where he's going to gather us, and it's going to be at Jerusalem? So now Zechariah is saying the exact same thing, being more detailed, as saying at the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem. Verse 5.
And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto us all. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake and the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my power shall come, and all the saints with thee.
People don't understand Yeshua is coming back for war. You don't want to be on the opposite side of that. Olives was the last place that he was, and Olive is going to be the place when he returned.
You know, like in 2009 and 2010, I had a dream, and I should have known then, but I didn't catch it. Mm-hmm. I was standing beside Yeshua on a mountain, and everybody had on all white. We were up in the air on a mountain, and it was thousands of people behind us, and I didn't even realize. From what I saw, he was a man of color, but I didn't even catch it then. That's what Mother was trying to show me. Mm-hmm. And in this dream, I'm on a mountain, and it's everybody, and we were looking down in the valley. We were getting ready to go down for war. Mm-hmm. I think I remember telling you that because I testified about it in church. Yeah. And that was a prophetic dream, and I didn't even know. I didn't realize it then. Mm-hmm. That we were, and I was standing beside him, and we all had on these white robes, like they were just really. It was not a white I have ever seen before. Mm-hmm. And we were all getting ready to go off this mountain down in the valley to fight.
Now you said something key because Scripture says mountain, right? When in 1 Thessalonians 4, it says up in the air, right?
Right. Yeah.
Is everybody seeing what I'm saying?
The saints was gathering, and we were getting ready to go down and fight that battle.
Gonna meet the Shia when it says up in the air in the mountains.
In the mountains, yeah. It was a big green mountain. It was high.
Let's skip down to verse 9 and read.
Zechariah chapter 14, verse 9. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. And that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one.
His name one. One Lord, one. Right? When Yeshua returns, he'll be king, Malach, of all. Skip down to verse 16. We're going to read 16 to 19.
Verse 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
This is talking about the Gentiles now, right? When it says, even upon them shall be no rain, no blessings. It's not talking about actual rain. It's talking about blessings, yes?
Is this talking about during the 1,000-year reign?
No, this is not talking about during the 1,000-year reign. This is right before the 1,000-year reign. Because he's not going to gather us, and then there's not going to be people coming up to worship at tabernacles who are not already have been gathered in the first place. Can't happen like that.
Wait a minute, you lost me.
When is this event going to happen in Zechariah the 14th chapter? What is he talking about? What has he been talking about since the very beginning? When is he going to gather us? Is he going to gather us at the wilderness? Or is he going to gather us right before the 1,000-year reign? When is that last trump supposed to blare? What is the last trump?
The last trump is when he comes back.
Okay, so when is that supposed to happen? What is that called?
Right?
After the wilderness,
Right.
correct?
Right.
What is that called?
Second resurrection.
No, it's not the second resurrection. Second resurrection is when when people are going to be standing in the great white throne judgment.
That's the
First resurrection.
This is the first resurrection. Trumpet blare on the first resurrection. Shine comes back on the first resurrection. What's going to happen to those who are in the wilderness? You're not going to be transformed in the wilderness. What's going to happen when you get to the wilderness?
Some people ain't gonna make it.
Some people are not going to make it. How many people are not going to make it? 2/3 are not going to make it. 1/3 is going to make it. That First Thessalonians talks about that 1/3 making it because it says those that are alive, the ones who are dead, meaning the ones who died pre-wilderness, before the wilderness, are going to meet with Yeshua. We got that right. We got that down so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here, when it talks about those that are going to meet him on the Mount Olives, when is he going to meet us at Mount Olives? The first resurrection,
And
correct?
change it up, yeah.
You have to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. You have to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, right?
Yeah.
Those who do not keep the Feast of Tabernacles, what's going to happen to them?
They're not gonna make it.
They're not going to make it. Now, is this talking about when he's going to be blowing a trump, or is it talking about before? It's talking about before. It's talking about right now. And it shall come to pass that every nation, that every man, that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship Malach, the king Malach, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship Malach, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. They are not going to come up in the 1,000-year reign. People who are sinners and worship him. That's not going to happen.
No.
So that's before. Is everyone you understand?
I don't think they do. It sounds like crickets to me.
This is about those who who are not serving. It's about those who are not serving, left of all nations. Everyone left of all nations, which came against Jerusalem, against Israel, shall even go up from year to year and worship the King of the Lord of hosts and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of the families of the earth.
I think where they get mixed up is that because we say once a year we're going to go up and Yeshua is going to teach us. That's in
That's
the New Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
It's two separate things. That's why everybody's like, come up once a year. I thought he was going to teach us, but now we're coming up to worship. Now that's two separate times. This is a different time. This is not the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem is when we're going to go up once a year to be taught. This is doing the
This is not doing anything. This is now.
oh now, yeah.
How many times we have said on numerous occasions that the scriptures in the Bible are not, you're thinking in chronological order, and the scriptures don't go that way.
Oh, because Gad said, Elder, that was a curveball for me. I've always thought this was the 1,000-year reign.
No, in the 1,000-year reign, no one is going to be able to get in. You're not going to be able to get in. At the 1,000-year reign, we're going to be transformed.
That's it.
There's not going to be people who are not transformed getting into the 1,000-year reign.
It's not.
This is talking about before everything happens.
So now.
Now,
Because in the 3.5 years in the wilderness, the mark of the beast implement and all that, that's when people are going to be headed. So everyone that makes it, that's not in the wilderness, outside of the wilderness, and you make it, the scripture said you will be beheaded. So you will die. You will die. So there's, like you said, there's not going to be people outside of the wilderness. It's just going to walk into. It's not.
the scripture is saying very clearly, right? Those who came against Jerusalem, Israel is Jerusalem, right? We got that. We understand that one, right? Israel is Jerusalem. So if someone is coming against you, do you think Yeshua is going to say, okay, we're in the 1,000-year reign, you can come on in? No, this is now. Read verse 18.
And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles.
What plague? What plague? What plague? Or maybe it should have said plagues. Then maybe you get it.
Yeah.
What plagues? What's going to happen with people who are not keeping the Feast of Tabernacles? What plagues do we know of that's going to happen? What plagues?
The ones in Revelation or the ones in Exodus?
Ones in Exodus already went past. The ones in Revelation. What plagues though? What's happening? Is it the seals? Is it the trumps? What? Is it the bowls or the vials? What? What plagues? The vials. The trumpets are not
The
plagues.
vials of
The
wrath.
trumpets sound for the vials or bowls, whatever your Bible says.
So is it in Revelation 16? It says the vows of wrath.
Yes.
And it talks
Those are the
about
plagues.
swords and
Those are the plagues.
grievous.
That can't be the 1,000-year reign.
We just talked about the different things
Correct.
a couple of weeks ago in Revelation that's going to happen.
Correct.
To the people.
So see, one part of Zechariah is talking about the 1,000-year reign. Then it switches and it talks about present day, what we're dealing with now. Then it switches and goes back to the 1,000-year reign. You have to be able to understand what the Bible is saying when the Bible is saying. Because we're so used to reading in chronological order on events and everything that happens. The Bible is not like that. You can be reading about the 1,000-year reign in a chapter and then be reading about the wilderness.
But
if you read in Ezekiel, let's say for an example, in the book of Ezekiel, It talks about the millennial kingdom from the 1,000-year reign until the New Jerusalem. But it goes backward and forth between the 1,000-year reign and the New Jerusalem.
But it's like that in Matthew, when it talks about Mary and giving birth in Yeshua's
Yes.
birth, and then it go back and say he did this, but you're like, wait a minute, he wasn't even born then. You know,
Exactly. That's
so
why you
it's
have
like
to read
that.
Luke first. The gospel should have led off with Luke, then went to Matthew. Because then you read Luke first, you get an understanding on what is being said. Not really, because sometimes in Luke it kind of twists off also. But you have to know your words, yes?
So is that, I mean, okay, so where my confusion is, it is that I'm trying to understand it chronologically, but these were thoughts of, not thoughts, but you know when they were writing them down, how people were talking, and it doesn't go by like chapters and verses, but of what they were talking about in that instant, doesn't it?
Okay, no. The
It's not like
Jesuits,
that.
the Jesuits did this so you can be confused.
So is it what, like when we learned in Genesis, you know when we did the years back in Genesis, and how certain chapters were mixed up because one had to come up before the other one, and like the different verses too.
So the people who wrote the Bible, when they're telling that story, they didn't do that. The Jesuit, when we were in captivity and they got our scrolls, our records, they mixed things up so we would get an understanding.
They didn't take it out. They just mixed
Mixed
it up. You have to read the 13 protocols of the elders of Zion.
Woo!
Because it tells you all that,
That whole plan.
right?
But if you're reading and you're studying, the Holy Spirit would give you an understanding. Mother will straighten it out for you.
Correct. This could not be talking about the 1,000-year reign. It could not be talking about the wilderness, because there's not going to be people outside worshiping and coming up to celebrate tabernacles. This is talking about those who is talking about now, that people need to celebrate the tabernacles now. Did we read verse 18?
Yes.
Read verse 19.
This shall be the punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
It's not talking about we're going to be in the mountains and then people are going to walk up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles and then they're going to leave. No, it's not talking about that. It's saying that right now you should be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. Right now you should be keeping the Passover. Now you should be keeping the trumpets. Now you should be keeping atonement. Because there's going to be a punishment if you are not. You're not going to make it to the wilderness. Let's go to Revelation 15. I didn't think we were going to be on that long. Revelation 15, we're going to start at verse 1. Everybody has to keep the tabernacles. Everyone has to keep all the feasts. You don't keep the feast, there's no everlasting life. You have to deal with what the Bible says. Revelation 15, we're going to start at verse 1.
Revelation chapter 15, verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of the Most High.
I guess I could have just went to Revelation 15, right? Those are the plagues that are in Zechariah. Those are the plagues that are talked about in the Old Testament after the wilderness. After the Egyptian plagues, right? The plagues of the Most High. 2.
And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of the Most High.
Standing on the sea of glass, that's people. We all know that sea means people.
So what it means, and over his mark. Those
over his mark, who
did not take the mark of the beast.
Did not take the mark of the beast, a victory over his image.
Yeah.
And those are not people after the wilderness. These are people who are operating right now. Verse 3.
And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of the Most High, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord, power almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of the saints.
Mm-hmm. 4.
Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee. For thy judgments are made manifest.
Thy judgments are made manifest. We're going to go back to Leviticus 23. Really? Okay. We're going to go back to Leviticus 23. All nations. Now we know why they won't get rain.
You have a question in the back.
Because they're going to get rained on, but it's going to be plagues, not rains of blessings. Yes?
Is that the same song of Moses in Exodus 15?
You are correct.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
The Song of Moses. Let's get Exodus 15. What song is that then?
I don't know.
How you gonna say no?
I know
it's
Fred
not?
the Genius made a song.
It's not Fred the Genius song,
And
right?
I like it.
Let's go to Exodus 15. Start reading that. Just read chapter verses 1 through 3.
Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously.
Mm-hmm.
The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea.
This is the Song of Moses.
The Lord is my strength and song, and he is become my salvation.
All right. There's only one Song of Moses. There's not two.
Okay, so what did that say? Did they say that was the song of Moses?
That's just what Israelites call it. That song of the Bible.
What does the Bible say? What is the heading on Exodus 15? What is the
Moses
heading?
song.
Moses who?
Song.
Moses what?
Song.
And what does that say?
The Song of Moses.
Oh, Moses' song and then the song of Moses.
It's the same thing.
Oh,
But it's saying two different things.
No, it's not saying two different things. It's the same thing. Song of Moses and the Song of Moses and Moses' song. It's the same thing.
It talks about Pharaoh and his army being thrown into the sea. That don't say that.
Is the meaning of the song the same?
And yeah, the meaning, because great and marvelous are your works. It was Lord Power Almighty, what he did to Pharaoh.
Same thing. Maybe the words are not the same, but it's the same song, same meaning.
See, that's how you should get that communication. You would go like that.
No, I won't.
I don't know what you be meaning.
All right, well, the scriptures are saying what it means. I don't have to sit up there and the scriptures say it. Okay, let's go to Leviticus 23. What? Leviticus 23, we're going to read verses 39 and 40. We're going to get another part of Tabernacles, right? Dealt with the spiritual part. Let's read.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 39. Also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
40.
And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of fig trees, and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your power 7 days.
So let's get an understanding of the physical part now. It says that in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of your land, that's you being gathered together, right? It shall be a Sabbath. You shall, on the first day, make boughs of goodly trees. This is the physical part of it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are doing this today, which you don't have to. But let's get meaning of this. Let's go Nehemiah 8. You are to get leaves, branches, limbs, but we need to see what this means.
Someone says the book of Enoch describes the floor of the throne being floor made of crystals.
But when we get there, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be a crystal or not. Some things in the book of Enoch, questionable at best. Some things. Maybe it will be a crystal floor. The main thing is let's get there to see what it is. That's the main thing, right? Because knowing if it is a crystal floor or not, but not getting there, that kind of sucks. Nehemiah 8, and we're going to start at verse 14. Okay, let's go.
Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 14. And they found written in the law which the Lord had commanded by Moses that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7 months.
All right, so they found in the law. Remember, Nehemiah was after the Persian captivity. Our records and everything we did not have in Persia, in Babylon and Persia. Well, we had them in Babylon because they took everything out of the tabernacle of the congregation. Oh no, I'm sorry, out of Solomon's temple, because it wasn't called the tabernacle of the congregation. They took everything out of Solomon's temple. They had our records.
Well, they also had them in 70 AD. When our people fled to Africa, what part of Africa, south?
No, it was, they went northern and
okay.
then went central.
Okay, so then our people had our records while they were in Africa. But then when they started doing the slave trades and all that, that's when they really got a hold to them as well. So while our people was in slavery, things were being changed around as well.
Like the Idumeans.
Idumeans, yeah.
All right. So we got our books, the Law of Moses, and they saw Leviticus 23, 39 and 40, Nehemiah and Ezra, verse 15.
And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, Go forth unto the mount, and fetch olive branches, and pine branches, and myrtle branches, and palm branches, and branches of thick trees, to make booths, as it is written.
To make booths, verse 16.
So the people went forth, and brought them, and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in the courts of the house of the Most High, and in the streets of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim. And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths, and sat under the booths. For since the days of Jeshua, the son of Nun, unto that day, had not the children of Israel done so. And there was very great gladness. Also, day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of the Most High, and they kept the feast 7 days, and on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner.
All right, so Ezra and Nehemiah read what we just read in Leviticus 23. People who make booths today are in their emotions.
Pretty much.
And when you're in your emotions, you are going to make a train wreck out of yourself.
And everybody else around.
Because what you're saying by creating booths now is that Yeshua didn't do a good enough job.
People are, they're coming against him.
You're coming against him.
Mm-hmm. And at that, we had a person that came to the ministry for a brief moment. And this woman was telling us that being part of another ministry, they actually go out there, you have to buy all a tent and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And she said it was so expensive. And then she said, oh, well, I'm at this ministry now. I'm going to save a lot of money. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
We was like, what? She said she's going to save a lot of money. But I wanted to say this, even back in Samuel time, the prophet Samuel, mm-hmm. even when they were being taken over by the Philistines after Eli had passed away,
right.
The things that was in the temple that they had where they were worshipped, the high priest, they sent them to different parts of the land to hide them. Because one thing that every captivity that happened to us, people that put us in captivity always tried to get their hands on our records. They always, because the power that the Most High showed through our people, they knew that power, that the Most High was our power, and they couldn't figure out how or what we were doing or why. So they always tried to get our record. So our records was always hidden. And the scroll was like this. If you was in training, if you was a Levite priest or something like that, you was in a temple, the original copy of the scroll, somebody would sit down and write it. That was their job. They would sit down and make their copy. Somebody else would sit down and make their copy. So you always had somebody make an exact copy of the original, so you can have a whole bunch of copies. And then remember with Jeremiah days, they found a copy of the laws hidden in the temple when they was rebuilding it. So someone hid it there. They always had to hide our records and different things like that because people always wanted to get their hands on it so they can rule. So they can rule just like the Jesuits did, just like they did when they put our people into slavery and gave us the white Jesus.
Right.
They've been trying to do it for thousands of years.
Whoever owns the book rules.
And they've been trying to get our records. You don't see nobody trying to get records for Yaphet or the Hamites no, they're always trying to get our records because they know it's something about us. They know the Most High chose us and we have power through him. And they trying to figure out how and why so they can do it, so they can have the power.
The records that Hindus keep, they could be out in full public display and nobody would care a thing about it. Confucius, all the writings of Confucius, they still have them. And nobody is looking to seek to get those writings.
And why is the Bible the most stolen book in the world? It's the most stolen book in the world. Shepherd had a nice Bible. He was at work and left it on his desk one day. Before he could get back to work the next day, it was gone.
All right, so these booths were everywhere. So we'll see how long they were in them. These booths represented flesh and blood. That's what these booths represent. Let's go 2 Peter 1.
Like life, flesh and blood?
Let's go 2 Peter 1.
You know, they showed a video of California. I don't know if it's Skid Row or whatever they call it, Tent City. And it's just hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, that's Skid Row.
It goes on for, I forgot, how 20 blocks, 50 blocks? Something like that. But that was a lot of them.
Okay, we will not be ignorant. Ignorance is death.
It is.
Not understanding. Like right now, if you don't understand what we've been saying so far, and you continue on.
Well, I have learned early on, if you're in a setting and you don't understand what's going on, you need to ask. You need to raise your hand.
Speak up.
Speak up. Even if the person who's presenting it try to get an attitude with you, no, I'm giving you my time. And you're not, and I have questions. I'm going to ask you these questions. Now, if you can't answer them for me, you have an attitude, then I'm in the wrong place. I'm not supposed to be here.
Or you could be a good teacher, and when questions comes, you ask a question back. But the question that you ask back is the answer to the question that the person is answering.
But you gotta make sure your people is paying attention.
Right. See how I do things?
You weren't them hard teachers. If I would have got you, I would have changed my class.
No, I'm not.
I would have went in and changed my schedule to a different.
No, I'm not. I'm not hard at all. Let's go. 2 Peter chapter 3. We're going to read 13 to 15. Let's read that.
2 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. Yea, I think it meet as long as I am in this tabernacle, to stir you up by putting you in remembrance.
This tabernacle. Let's go, 14.
Knowing that shortly I must put off this my tabernacle, even as our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach hath showed me.
We're talking the physical tabernacle now. 15.
Moreover, I will endeavor that ye may be able after my increase to have these things always in remembrance.
Let's read verse 15 again.
What's that?
Let's read verse 15 again.
Moreover, I will endeavor that ye may be able after my
Decrease.
decrease.
There you go.
Decrease has an R in it. That's decrease.
Deceased, yeah. You said increase.
Oh,
Moreover, I will endeavor that ye may be able after my decease to have these things always in remembrance.
so Peter is talking about the physical tabernacle, which is your body. The day is coming when the body will die. You'll put off this tabernacle, right? Let's see. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5. You want to put off this tabernacle. So these no, I'm not. I'm getting ahead. I don't want to talk about the booths just yet. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. We're going to read verses 1 through 4.
2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of the Most High, and a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens.
Keep on.
For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house which is from heaven.
Our house, which is from heaven, this is your body. Keep, verse 3.
If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked.
Mm-hmm.
For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life.
So in this body we groan. Oh, my ankle. Oh, my foot. Oh, my knee. Oh, my back. Oh, my neck.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta comb my hair. Some of us, oh, I don't comb my hair. I gotta brush my teeth. Oh, I don't want to brush my teeth. I gotta wash this body. Oh, I don't feel like washing this body. That's groaning in this tabernacle, right? Being burdened. How many times if you woke up in the morning, you like, oh, I gotta wash up again. Oh, I gotta go to the bed. You sleep in the
I
bed.
don't feel that way.
And you're comfortable in the bed, and all of a sudden, bowel movement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I gotta get up,
Yeah.
and you hold it to the last second, and
Oh.
then you jump out of bed, run into the bathroom because you're about to make a nice mess in your bed. That's burden. You want to lay there sleep. You're relaxed, comfortable. You sleep, and let me tell you something. Let me tell you when it happens. Right? It happens when you are in a position in the bed. And you are at the most comfortable position of the night. You're in your position. You're like, oh my goodness, this is great. Oh, I'm getting rest. And all of a sudden, you start feeling little things at the bottom. You start feeling pressure, and you start feeling like you got to go to the bathroom. It's always when you are at your most comfortable at night, when all of a sudden you just got to get up and you got to go. But then you lay there. Like, this is what I do. I don't know about anybody else. I lay there, and then my legs start to go because I got to go to the bathroom. So my legs start shaking and doing this. And I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up. I'll hold it for 5 more minutes. Just 5 more minutes, and then all of a sudden you feel a little beep, beep, beep. Start feeling little drops. And you're like, oh, I got to go.
I know. You say you feel good.
And you gotta run. You run into the bathroom.
I know he does. He be shaking his legs, and I be like, Shepherd, would you just go to the bathroom already? I don't feel like it. I'm like, oh my goodness.
But that's what happens. We are in this tabernacle. We groan, being burdened, right? We're gonna go to 1 Corinthians. We're in 1 Corinthians. No, we're not. Let's go 1 Corinthians 15. It's not that we want to die, but let's face it, we all want a better body. We want a immortal body.
You know, I don't know if this is in scripture. I don't think I ever read it.
Yep.
But in Christianity, when they talk to you about what is it called? The lie. You know, you're going to fly up in the
The
sky.
rapture?
The rapture. They said you're going to take off this old body and fold it up like old clothes.
Yeah.
What scripture is that?
I don't know what scripture
And I used to
that
have
is.
visions of
Still
me
thinking what
taking
scripture
off
that
this
is.
body, folding it up. Like, that was so crazy. Like, why do I think that?
Those wacky Christians. 1 Corinthians 15, we're going to read 35 to 54. Okay? Let's see. Tabernacle. Let's go.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 35. But some men will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come?
How are they raised up? What body will they come? We read an excerpt in 1st and 2nd Baruch 51. 2nd Baruch 51, and it talks specifically about this. We also know of a passage in 2nd Ezra chapter 7 that talks about what's going to happen to the body. Verse 36.
Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die.
Verse 37.
And that which thou sowest not that body that shall be, but bear grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain.
So Paul is saying that a kernel or a seed of wheat planted, it's still going to be a seed of wheat. 38.
But the Most High giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body.
Mm-hmm.
All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds.
So Paul is basically saying you're separating all the animals. You got the flesh of men, flesh of beasts, flesh of fish, flesh of birds. All of it's still the same.
Hey, you remember when, I don't know if it was, I think it was ARW, asked you, was fish meat?
Right.
Was it like beef or, meat like
Right.
that? It's not.
It's different.
It's different. It's not the same. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So y'all
So there you
remember
go.
we had the question.
Was he even on track?
No.
Okay. Well, there you go. That was a question that Brother ARW had about the fish being separate meat. It is.
Yeah.
Verse 40.
There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Right. Verse 41.
There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption and is raised in incorruption.
You were born in sin. If you make it, you're going to be raised without. 43.
It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power.
Weakness, right? Weakness. How many times you think you can walk up a flight of stairs and not get tired? You're going to get weak. In that power body, there's no weakness. There's no sickness. There's no disease. There's no shortcomings. In that celestial body, you're going to be just like the Most High. You're going to be just like Yeshua. Verse 44.
It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. It is a natural body, and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written.
Hold on. So so Yeshua is going to fix this body. Man came out the ground, so there's no such thing as a homecoming. So everyone needs to stop it with the homecoming funerals. When you die, you're going to get buried. Right? Even Yeshua had to go to the ground. Let's go 45.
And so it is written, the first man Adam was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual.
So you are in this natural body. Eventually you're going to have a spiritual body. Now, that spiritual body determines on where you're going. The New Jerusalem or the lake of fire. But everybody's going to get a spiritual body. 47.
The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, so are they also that are heavenly.
49.
And as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
See, Paul is breaking it down. He's given us a full understanding on the heavenly tabernacle, your body, and the earthly tabernacle, your body. Verse 50.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of the Most High.
Flesh and blood cannot inherit it. Come on.
Neither doth corruption inherit incorruption.
51.
But I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump.
At the what?
At the last trump.
At the what?
At the last trump.
At the last trump. The trumpet of Jubilee. The last trump. The Day of Atonement. The last trump. What's going to happen?
For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
We read that in 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, that the dead are going to be raised up. Go ahead.
And we shall be changed.
53.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the same that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
Death is swallowed up. Because at that point there is no death.
No.
Whether you're going to the lake of fire and brimstone or whether you're going to the New Jerusalem, you will not die ever again.
Because the spirit comes from who? The Most High.
You will not die again.
So if you're in a lake of fire, you're going to be getting tormented over and over.
Forever.
Forever. Your spirit, huh?
So what you're going through in this short time on this earth is nothing. Got to get it right. We're going to go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter.
I just told someone this morning that nothing is worth you losing your salvation with the Most High.
Death is an interruption of life. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's going to live after death. After this mortal tabernacle goes away and dies, you got to go somewhere. You're going to go somewhere. It's up to you. Leviticus 23, we're going to read verses 41 to 44.
I knew this lady who was a Jehovah's Witness, and she told me that when people die, they go to sleep forever. And I told her, I said, so you think people that has been rebellious and disobedient against the Most High, that have been hell raisers all their life, they just gonna just go and rest in peace? I said, no, it don't work like that. My Bible don't tell me that.
Does anybody remember when we taught on the doctrine of soul sleep?
Well, yeah, I remember. I don't even know if that teaching is still up there. So many teachings have been taken
No,
down.
this was pre-YouTube days.
Oh, well, you may have to do that one again. But at this point, that's irrelevant. Well, maybe not.
It's very relevant because there's a lot of false doctrines out there about what's going to happen when you die.
Well, at this point, we're just trying to make it.
Right? Let's go Leviticus 23. We're going to read 41 and 44.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 41. And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month.
It's a statute forever. Remember, it's for everybody. 42.
Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. That your generation may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths. When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am the Lord your power. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of the Lord.
Feast of the Lord. There are 7 days. 7 represents the Most High's time when He will save us. The 7th month, 7 days, He will gather us. He is and He was specific. You don't have to tear the branches. The body will die after 7 days. And that's what the branches are going to do.
So after 7,000 years,
Correct.
the flesh is going to die and we're going to be changed.
We're going to be changed. The flesh is going to be changed. Everyone is going to be a spirit being.
Because flesh and blood cannot inherit
The kingdom. And let me retract that because that's incorrect. Everyone is not going to be changed because there is a thing called the second resurrection. During the first resurrection, all those that are in Yeshua are going to be changed. Everyone else is not going to be changed. Their changing is going to happen at the second resurrection, which is the great white throne judgment. At that time, they'll be changed. So not everybody's going to be changed at the same time. So I apologize, I misspoke. Let's stay in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and we're going to go up to verse 3. We're going to read verse 3 again.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
You got Shasha days to get it right.
I'll tell you, when you were reading these scriptures, when you were reading it in Hebrew, start going through the rhythm, so I have to read.
All praises. Shasha days is what you got to get it right. And we're coming to the end of those Shasha days. This will be the Most High's millennial period. Everyone will be changed who are serving the Most High.
That's the real millennium.
That's the real millennium, not this.
Remember
Whatever
they
they
had
call
the
it.
millennium.
2000,
And
right?
all the lights were supposed to, like, the lights were supposed to go out.
All right, let's go Genesis 2. Genesis 2, 1 through 3. Okay.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them.
How many days did it take the Most High? How many days did it take Yeshua to create everything?
6.
He worked 6 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 7th day, same thing. No different. He don't change. Read verse 2, please.
And on the 7th day, the Most High ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made.
Mm-hmm.
And the Most High blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which the Most High created and made.
All right, so let's show you now what he said about those who misbehaved about this. Let's go to Psalms 95. Psalms 95, and we're going to read verses 6 through 11. Okay, let's read.
Psalms chapter 95, verse 6. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For he is our power, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your heart as in the provocation, and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work. 40 years long was I grieved with this generation, and said, it is a people that do err in their heart, and they have not known my ways. Unto whom I swear my wrath that they should not enter into my rest.
They should not enter into my rest. So those who don't want to follow the law, statutes, commandments, those who do not want to follow Israel, those who do not want to do what is right, he will put his wrath on you. His peace is 1,000 years. So if you don't keep the Shabbat, the holy days, you're going to miss out on the wilderness, and you're going to miss out when Yeshua reigns on earth. Let's go to Hebrews 4. We're not going to be in front of you that much longer, because it is Tabernacles, and we're going to enjoy the rest of the Feast of Tabernacles. A few more stops before we're done. Hebrews 4, we're going to read verses 1 through 4, and then 10 through 11. Next week's lesson, let's get to know the disciples. Let's get to know all 12 of them. That's going to be our lesson for next week. Getting to know the 12 who started. Well, they started in the Yeshua. But getting to know the 12. Let's go to Hebrews 4. We're going to read verses 1 through 4.
Hebrews chapter 4, verse 1. Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left us entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it.
See, the word being preached, it didn't profit to them because, verse 3.
For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, and they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
Read that in Psalms 95, verse 4.
For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise.
Yes.
And the Most High did rest the seventh day from all his works.
We read that in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, verse 10.
For he that is entered into his rest, he also has ceased from his own works, as the Most High did from his.
We read that in Leviticus, we read that in Genesis, we read that in Isaiah, we read that pretty much everywhere that we have stopped. Enter into his rest. Cease from doing his works. Enter into his rest. 1,000-year reign. 11.
Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest.
Let us work.
The 6.
Let us work to enter into that rest. 6,000.
Let us labor.
Let us work. Let us labor. Remember in Malachi, I'm tired. I'm weary. No. No. You do not get tired. You do not get weary from serving Yeshua. Those who get tired and weary of serving Yeshua, you never were serving him in the first place.
But he tell us, don't get weary
in
and
well doing. Did we finish that? No, we didn't. Finish verse 11, please.
Verse 11. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief.
Yes. Lest any man, lest any ayash.
So
Fall.
the devil gonna try to get you to do things. The devil try to throw you thoughts to be rebellious, to be lustful, to be a adulterer, to be a fornicator. You have to labor. You have to fight against him. You must do something. I'm preaching to my own self right now.
All right, let's see something else. Let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter.
Preaching to myself right now. Okay, you gotta do something. What? Shut your
We're going
mouth.
to read 9 and 12 and then 14.
Tell myself to shut my mouth.
All right, let's go.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring the sheaf of the first fruit of your harvest unto the priest.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you on the morrow. After the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
Mm-hmm.
And ye shall, verse 12,
12.
and ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheep and lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord.
All right, we're going to skip down to verse 14, and we're going to read 14 to 18.
And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your power.
Mm-hmm.
It shall be a statute forever throughout your generation and all your dwellings.
Now, the Bible is not saying you cannot eat bread or parched corn or green ears. That's not what it's saying. It's saying green ears, right? That means that it's not ripe yet.
It's not ready to eat yet.
It's not ready yet.
It's not ready.
15.
And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete.
7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Verse 16.
Even until the morrow after the 7 Sabbaths shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord.
All right, it gets into Pentecost now. Keep going.
Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenths deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even offering made by fire, of sweet savor unto the Lord.
Ayash has 6 days to work. And then on the 7th day, Yeshua will work with us to get it right during 1,000 years of peace. Hawa, lamb without blemish. That lamb is Yeshua. Hawa is the first Ayash to die and rise from the dead to live forever. He is the first. He is the first fruit to do that. We are going to do exactly what he did. Let's go 1 Corinthians 15. And we're going to read verses 1 Corinthians 15, 21 to 28. This will be our last scripture of the day.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive.
Mm-hmm.
But every man in his own order. Hamashiach the first fruits, afterwards they that are Hamashiachs at his coming. Then cometh the end, when ye shall have delivered up the kingdom of the Most High, even the Father, when ye shall have put down all rule and all authority and powers. For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet.
Mhm.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is
The
death.
last one destroyed is death. 27.
For he hath put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is accepted, which did put all things under him. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that the Most High may be all in all.
That he may be all in all. Yeshua is the only one that we know, that we have known in our flesh and blood bodies. Death and animal sacrifices were not in the creation plan. Before sin, both Ayash and Baman were vegetarians. Our lesson next week on the Shabbat at the end of Tabernacles, it's going to be getting to know the 12. And then after that, it's going to be the 8th day feast. And I want to thank my wife for getting me that book. And she knows what I'm talking about because, oh my goodness.
You thank the Holy Spirit. Mother led me to do that.
Well, you were obedient.
I didn't know that even existed.
Oh my goodness. A lot of information in it. All right. So we want to thank you, Shia. We want to thank you for joining us for the Feast of Tabernacles. We're going to give all praises and glory to the Most High, Ahaya. Give all praises and glory to our Lord and Savior, our Malak, Yeshua HaMashiach, and Wawawak, the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. Quick questions before we close.
Are there any, so I hear people say that we're going to be keeping a feast in the New Jerusalem. Is that true?
We're going, I don't know if we're going to have feasts, but I don't think they're going to be feasts about salvation, because this is about salvation. I'm sure we're going to have feasts.
Like someone, I heard the camp say that we would be keeping Purim or something like that in the
There
New
would be no
Jerusalem.
need to do that.
No need to do so. Okay, but there are going to be feasts. I'm sure they're going to be feasts. Let's make it to the New Jerusalem and find out.
Exactly.
All right, that's it.
If you have enjoyed this teaching, and found it educational, please like, share, and subscribe for future teachings. Also, remember to hit the notification button so you get all notifications when we go live.
All right, next week we're still live streaming at 1 p.m. because it's a holy day. All right.
Same time on Friday, same time?
Same time on Friday.
Okay,
Correct.
and 1 p.m. Saturday.
Right. All right. So that's it.
Be blessed.
Be blessed. Enjoy the rest of Tabernacles. Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.